Greetings, seniors. This is Mr. Anderson here from the art department, and I have this nice little slideshow that I made for you. There's actually two slideshows. The first one here, senior project posters, will go over the different requirements and expectations of you for the poster. The second slideshow will just be examples, and I'll kind of go over what's below basic, basic, proficient, and advanced. So I hope you enjoy the show, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So the process and information for this senior project poster. Most importantly, you need to know that it is due February 7th to your advisory teachers. You have to turn it in to your advisory teachers. Please do not bring it to the art rooms. We will not be accepting posters unless you are our advisory students. If you're interested in how the poster will be credited, it will be credited along with your portfolio for 10% of your civics and economics grade in the spring semester. So the purpose of this poster is it needs to be a visual representation of your senior project and your research. The design of your poster should reflect the theme of the topic. It needs to include words, pictures, photos, drawings, pamphlets, anything that really will draw in the viewer. And it needs to be appropriate to your topic. Just remember, seniors, this is an advertisement for your senior project. It's not an informational poster, so you don't need all the information about your senior project on the poster. You're basically just trying to advertise it to the public so someone will gain interest in what you're doing for your senior project. So the audience for these posters is a pretty broad audience. You're going to have the posters viewed by students, parents, teachers, and community guests. And they will be hung all around locations around the campus. If you need help with your poster, you need to come to the art department. Come see myself, Mr. Anderson, or Mrs. Kuprian, or Mr. Mitchell. We know what a good poster looks like, so we can give you tons of hints and help so that you can reach that advanced level on the rubric. I also will be holding workshops on January 15th and January 22nd. Those are Wednesdays at lunch in H9. So the requirements for this poster. The poster needs to be 11 by 17. The poster must be vertical, not horizontal. Make sure it's vertical. They all have to be the same. It needs to be made on poster board or have some sort of poster board as its backing so that the poster won't tear or flop over. You can put it on a little foam board if you desire. The paper that's appropriate for this will be for sale at school, either by the art department or by your leadership classes. So the lettering in your poster, it needs to be bold. It needs to be a large font. And be careful about too many colors and styles. A lot of times people will add different fonts and styles to it. It just becomes hodgepodge and it really becomes hard to read for the viewer. The lettering for the title needs to be visible from at least 6 feet. And if you have any sort of labels or other things, they need to be visible by 3 feet. Make sure you give a check before you turn it in. If you can't see the poster from 6 feet or read it, it's going to be denied and give a below basic rating, which means you have to redo the poster. All the lettering needs to be neat, it needs to be finished, and checked for spelling errors before you turn it in, please. We will not accept messy posters, terrible spelling errors. You will have to redo that poster. So the content, basically the specific elements that are needed for this poster, you need a title for your poster. And the title should be a bold message. Many titles, most titles, I would just say go for it. You need a byline or a subtitle of some sort. There are some examples in the next slideshow that I will show you that didn't have a byline. Actually, most of them don't have bylines, and they don't get advanced level. We do make exceptions if your title is super appropriate, but for the most part, you're always going to need a byline or subtitle. If you need that byline or subtitle, it needs to be less than 10 words. So no more than 10 words. We don't need a paragraph. We just need a brief explanation of what your project is. If the art department, when we're grading them, doesn't understand what your project is, you will be graded a below basic and will have to redo the project. The second thing that's most important on the poster is your name. Your name needs to be on the front. It needs to be in bold. It needs to be smaller than your title, but it needs to be bigger than your Senior Project 2014. Now your Senior Project 2014, right, it's smaller than your name. Everyone has Senior Project 2014. We're highlighting that it's your project. So your name needs to be a little larger than that. You need to have at least one graphic. And what I mean by a graphic, you need to have either a photograph or a drawing, some sort of visual to kind of draw in the viewer. You can have up to 3, but make sure you don't hodgepodge it too much because it gets too crowded and it becomes hard to read. A lot of times, simpler is better. Another part with the graphics that I'm going to go over a little later is that you need to cite your graphics if they're borrowed. So on the back, you need to attach the rubric. The rubric you can download from the website in the senior project area. And I recommend that you print this before you even start working on your project. And you can have it sitting next to your poster, and you can really just reference it at different times to make sure that you're going to get an advanced rating on that rubric. So on that rubric, there's a space for your name and your advisory teacher's name. Make sure you put that stuff on there. So if we do have issues with your poster, we can find you and know where you are. The other thing is, for your images and text, as I mentioned, they need to be properly cited if they're borrowed. If they are borrowed, they need to be correctly formatted to an MLA citation on the back. If you photographed the image yourself, maybe your mom or your dad or a friend did it, you need to give them credit for taking the photograph as well. Posters with images that are not sourced, either by saying that the photograph was taken by someone you know personally, or they were not MLA cited, they will not be accepted. You will receive a below basic score, and you will have to redo the poster. So just do it right the first time. So here is an example of the rubric that will be used for grading your poster. If you notice, there's the advanced level, there's the proficient level, and the basic redo level. So we will reserve the right, if you do get a basic, we will make you possibly redo it. And then there's below basic. We don't even have it on there, basically. You just have to redo the poster because you have not met the different layouts of basically what we were looking for. So the different categories that you'll be graded on is there's the layout and use of color and extras, there's the graphics and photos, there's the titles, text, and subheading, and the craftsmanship and the writing. So you really, I'm just going to go over kind of the advanced, but you really want your layout to be balanced. You need to show some creativity with it, and make sure the color palette works well with the graphic or text. Make sure that the graphics are engaging and enhance the poster, that they're clean and well printed. I can't stress that enough. I've seen so many posters just terrible printed. Really go for the high quality. Go to Staples if you need to, or some copy store, or find a good printer so you can have a high quality image. And stay away from images with watermarks. It's just tacky and it looks terrible. The other thing is your titles and subtitles need to be clear, and they need to enhance the readability of the project. Make sure that there's an emphasis on the title in your name, and try to come up with a catchy headline to really draw in that viewer. Your poster needs to be clean. It needs to be balanced. The cutting needs to be clean. There should be no glue marks or fingerprints with glue marks. Make it look professional. This is an advertisement for your senior project. It shouldn't be, it should look really professional and nice. Also make sure any writing on the poster is well written and organized. It's clear and easy to follow, and make sure it doesn't have any spelling or grammar errors. And text speak is not okay. It needs to be proper English. Make sure your work is cited. If you do quote anything, you need to make sure that you cite that person for that. And make sure that your name and advisory teacher is on the back. As you notice, right up in the upper left-hand corner, there's a space for you to do that. You can just attach this to the back of your poster. I'm not going to go over the proficient and basic because all of you should be aiming for an advanced level poster. So with the creativity of these posters, try to plan out all your elements first. Lay them all out on a table and then slowly put it together. And make sure that you don't put an excessive amount of material on the poster where I said it gets too hodgepodge or crowded and then gets really hard to read. Also get a second opinion. So for example, right, maybe you've gotten my opinion. Go get another teacher's opinion. Get a student's opinion. Get a parent's opinion. The more opinions you get, the more aesthetic values that you'll receive, and then you'll get a better idea of constructive criticism for your poster. Try to stay away from yellow and orange. They're really hard to see from a distance. So you want more different colors. You can maybe do a yellow or orange kind of border, but try to stay away from any kind of text that are yellow and orange. Create frames for the display, and when I say frames, don't go into Target and buy a wooden frame. I'm just saying frame it, kind of matting it with different colors of paper or cardboard. And I do have some examples in the next slide show that some students have really used the framing nicely. The other thing with the frames, kind of color coordinate it. Don't make sure they're not too much of a clashing color so that they are friendly to the viewer's eye and not these horrific colors that are just really just take you away from the poster at all. Make sure you insert some kind of color background to add interest to the poster. There's nothing more boring than a white background of just the poster board. So yeah, think about what kind of color patterns you want and spice it up a little bit. It's pretty boring when you just have that white. And incorporate some originality into your poster. Don't rely entirely on the borrowed graphics. I can't stress that enough. People, add some borders to those borrowed graphics. Just spice it up a little bit. You just slop on borrowed graphics you found on a Google search. It's just kind of tacky. Try to put some of your own creativity and originality into it. And a lot of times, small and 3D objects can be very effective. I do have one example in the next slideshow of a student using 3D objects. And it really kind of pops out. The only thing with the 3D objects, just make sure that they're durable. Remember that these senior project posters are going to end up in a box with the rest of all your senior class posters. And if it doesn't last in there, you're possibly going to get a bad grade on it because it didn't last, you're missing something. So make sure if you do put any sort of 3D objects on the poster that you've secured it very well. Don't forget, neatness counts. Make it look professional. Remember that this poster is an advertisement for your senior project. And I cannot stress enough, less is better. So make it simpler. You don't need lots and lots of images to make a good poster. And if you check out the next slideshow, I'm going to show you examples of how less is better.